Changes in regulation, that's kind of the ACCA telling you that P2, although it's going to examine everything in financial reporting, is going to tend to focus on new things. So anytime anything's new, like a new international financial reporting standard on groups, as soon as it's new, it's ready for examination at P2. So that's what they're trying to tell you there. And then G, appraisal of performance and position. There's a tendency to interpret this as meaning, it's ratio analysis, but that's not really the way that the examiner interprets this. He expects you to be able to analyse. It comes down to the same as A, really, professional analysis. He expects to be able to tell you a story and you to be able to analyse it. And current developments, current developments and changes in regulation are very closely related. The International Accounting Standards Board develop international financial reporting standards, and while they're in the development phase, they're not even IFRSs. While they're in their development phase, they're still examinable at P2. So you look at standards as they're being developed, standards when they become new, but you're still looking at them even when the standard becomes old. So you see, they're not discrete areas, are they? They're not like, it's not this area, that area, this area. So every question tends to have a bit of everything from A to H. Right, okay, so let's go to the next one. P2 exam format. P2 is assessed by a 3-hour paper. P2 is assessed by a 3-hour paper-based examination plus 15 minutes of reading time. There's a choice in the B section, and your 15 minutes of reading time is for you to choose, really, between the different questions in the B section. And then you've got 3 hours of writing time. And what you're going to do? Well, let's have a look at the next paragraph. The examination consists of one compulsory 50-mark case study and a choice of 2 from 3 scenarios, each worth 25 marks each. Past exams have used roughly the following format. I'm going to show you in a second. Past exams have used roughly the following format, although the examiner reserves the right to play with this trend. He hasn't played with this trend. He has stuck to this trend in the recent past. But nevertheless, it's not guaranteed that question 1. Question 1 is the group accounting case study. It's 35 marks of numbers, usually, with 15 marks of narrative, usually. But it's one case study. A big question, half the exam. And it's compulsory, as I mentioned. Question 2, 3 and 4, you choose 2 from those 3. Question 2 is what's often referred to as the focus question. It's normally one subject, one very technical subject often, like, for example, financial instruments, or maybe deferred tax, or maybe both. Sometimes 2 subjects, but usually just one subject, say financial instruments. And in that question you would be asked to explain the basics of financial instrument accounting for maybe 5 marks. And then for the other 20 marks you'd be doing little scenarios, every one of those 4 little scenarios, say. Here's 5 marks, analyse the financial instrument. Here's another 5 marks, analyse the financial instrument. Here's another 5 marks, analyse the financial instrument. And finally, here's another 5 marks, analyse the financial instrument. So when we say focus, we really mean very, very focused on one international financial reporting standard. Or sometimes 2. So that's the usual question 2. Which is similar but definitely different to question 3. That's the industry or mix question. That's the one where the examiner basically examines the whole syllabus. He takes a story of a company and he gets it doing lots and lots and lots of different things, and you just talk about all the different things it's doing. All right? And question 4 is the current issues question. So he takes something that the international financial reporting guys are developing, for example, financial instruments, and gets you talking about what we do now as regards financial instruments, what's wrong with that, and how it is being developed by the International Accounting Standards Board. So that's the basis of the exam. Can I just go through that quickly again? So question 4 is the current issues question. It's looking at development. Question 3 usually is the industry mix question, which is highly mixed and covers a shed load of standards. Question 2 is the focus question, focusing on one particular existing standard, not the development of it, but the existing standard. And then question 1 is the big case study, which is mostly based on numbers. So what does this mean? Well, if you look at it again, can you see that if it's 35 marks of numbers at the top and 125 marks in all, it's approximately 90 marks of narrative. It's essentially a narrative examination, this, which is good in some ways and bad in others. It's good because, you tend to be doing less complicated things. So, for example, if in question 3 there's some share-based payment, you may not be doing the numbers. But you're just talking about it. It suits some people and it doesn't suit others. It tends to be less numbers. Strictly speaking, if you actually have a look at it, I've said, can you see in question 2, I've said 25 marks of mostly narrative. There will be some numbers there. Question 3, 25 marks of mostly narrative. There will be some numbers there. And question 4, 25 marks, almost exclusively narrative. So it's mostly narrative in the B section. Enough said. Right, what am I doing here? Where's the last page? How to pass P2. It's all about your basics. You've got to develop solid financial reporting foundations. Really, really bed down your basics. Don't aim for knowing the super technical stuff before you know your basics. The truth is, you don't even need the super technical stuff. If you get there, if you get the super technical stuff, great. But it's really all about solid foundations. Aim for solid foundations. Develop financial reporting analytical skills, which you'll do by practicing exam questions. So you don't just learn leases, you learn to look at a scenario, analyse a scenario, and identify what's going on as regards the lease, especially as regards creative accounting for that lease. Develop a tough, aggressive attitude. It really, P2 has got a lot to do with how much you want to pass and how tough you can be. It's a very, very wobbly exam in terms of its technical content. It just isn't like a normal numbers paper. So it does come down to a lot of aggression. So develop a tough, aggressive attitude. Think to yourself, I do not want to do this again. I'm going to make sure that I force myself through this exam. And that really does help with P2. Helps with all exams, but particularly with P2. Okay, that is my introduction to P2. Corporate reporting. As I say, my name is Martin Jones, and this is P2.